Told my mean girl daughter to stay TF away from my family. I have a daughter, 19, and two sons, 16 and 12. My daughter Sydney is, when we're one-on-one, a great kid. She's bright, she's funny, she sets goals and works hard to meet them. I love her very much, and have done my best to support her. She currently attends college about an hour from our home, which my spouse and I pay for, along with her housing and everything. However, Sydney is just awful to her 16-year-old brother, Lucas, and pretty much always has been. She picks on him constantly, calls him stupid, belittles his accomplishments, and is just generally mean. We've tried to improve this behavior many times over the years. We've done individual counseling for her, individual counseling for Lucas, family counseling with all of us. We tried finding them activities to do together. We've tried any consequence/incentive we could think of, and finally we just tried to keep them separate as much as possible. For his part, Lucas spent his younger years thinking Sydney was the coolest person ever and tried so hard to play with her and be nice to her. I'm not saying he never started any of the conflict, but it wasn't nearly the same level of random meanness as from his sister. He also responded to consequences and his behavior generally improved over time. He's also a great kid, has lots of friends, does well in school, and is researching colleges now. For the last few years he mostly just tried to avoid Sydney, which got easier as they both had their own activities. We had hoped that through all our efforts and the process of growing up, Sydney would at least learn to ignore her brother rather than lashing out. She's very capable of being nice to others. She has her own circle of friends, she gets along well with our 12-year-old, and never really got in trouble at school. I know that I'm not seeing her 24/7, but I really think this is isolated to her relationship with Lucas. When she came home from college for Thanksgiving, everything started up again. She immediately started teasing Lucas about his clothes, told him he'd never get into a good college, and generally took every opportunity to pick a fight. It was exhausting. Now, she's planning on coming home for 2 weeks at Christmas. She lives in an apartment and doesn't have to come home like she did when she lived in the dorms. I told her that if she can't be kind to, or failing that at least ignore, her brother then she can't come home. I think she thought I was joking at first and kind of laughed and said something about not being able to promise that, and I said that's fine, don't come home then. I've made it clear she's welcome anytime she can act civilly with her family, and I'm not threatening to cut her off financially in any way. We made a promise, I intend on keeping it. Now that she's an adult with her own living space, I don't think Lucas should have to deal with her anymore, and he's still living under our roof. Sydney is very angry with me and says she's never coming home again, and my wife thinks I'm being too harsh, and that maybe we should have just told her she couldn't stay as long so Lucas can still enjoy his break. So, Ada for telling my daughter not to come home? I feel like I might be because it's also her home, but she still has housing available so maybe not.